When this pupil dilates, it reacts to a center in the amygdala, deep in the brain, that controls our fear response. A signal from the amygdala, an ancient almond-shaped structure, triggers our fear. However, the amygdala has a flaw. It cannot distinguish between a physical threat right in front of us and an imagined one. If you vividly picture a disastrous scenario, your nervous system reacts as if it is actually happening. Your heart races, your breath shortens, and stress hormones flood your bloodstream, preparing your body to fight or flee. Today, we constantly reinforce that flaw. We carry devices that deliver an endless, uncontrolled flow of worst-case scenarios on their screens. This text by David R. Hawkins explores human consciousness, stating that the proliferation of fears is as boundless as the human imagination. It shows how fearful thoughts, triggered by worrying events, escalate into paranoia and shape social trends. We have unintentionally weaponized our own biology by giving our ancient threat detection mechanisms unlimited access to unverified medical information. We have created a system that perpetually produces chronic, paralyzing anxiety. When people notice a strange ache or a sudden cough, they often turn to online symptom checkers. These tools operate on rigid binary logic, simple if-then decision trees that ask a series of yes or no questions. Look at this flowchart structure. By isolating single symptoms, the logic breaks down. Because software developers face massive liability if they miss a serious illness, the algorithm is designed to over-triage, routing even minor inputs directly to an emergency recommendation. The result is a wave of cyberchondria. Perfectly healthy people are thrown into a state of complete panic. Emergency rooms become flooded with patients who could safely manage their symptoms at home, and individuals lose all trust in their own bodily sensations. These rigid systems do not actually diagnose disease. They manufacture an illusion of disease, overwhelming the global healthcare system while leaving the patient more terrified than when they started. This manuscript page shows a passage from the Rig Veda, the ancient Vedic sages described human existence using a specific term, Maya. It refers to the condition of mistaking appearance for reality, a veil of illusion that distorts human perception. The philosopher Shankara illustrated this with a simple parable. A man walks down a dimly lit path and sees a snake coiled on the ground. His heart pounds, his breath catches, and he is gripped by total, paralyzing fear. Then someone shines a light. The man looks closer and realizes it is only a piece of rope. The threat never existed, and with that single shifting context, the physical panic vanishes instantly. If we stare in the dark at an isolated symptom, we see a snake. We cure the panic not by fighting the fear, but by illuminating the context around the symptom. Dr. Kadiyali Srivatsa experienced this distinction firsthand. Walking on a hot day, he began sweating and suddenly developed a severe cramp in his left arm, but he had no chest pain or other symptoms that assisted diagnosis. A standard algorithmic flowchart would struggle with this input because he lacked the classic symptom of chest pain. A rigid decision tree might dismiss the arm cramp entirely or misdirect him towards a muscular issue. Instead, he analyzed his own body's pattern of context and insisted on specific blood work. That holistic assessment revealed a blocked artery that required a life-saving surgical shunt. That experience demonstrated how the simple color-coded symptoms and signs, forming a pattern that AI can recognize, laid the foundation for solution, which was explicitly designed to abandon rigid flowcharts and mimic the contextual thought process of a seasoned physician. Rather than isolating problems, it uses a triad concept. Users input 3 symptoms simultaneously to evaluate how they interact. Once recognized, it issues a direct color-coded instruction: red for hospital, yellow for pharmacist, green for self-care, or blue for infection risk. Bypassing the panic response by replacing isolated checkboxes with human-like pattern recognition and visual cues, Dr. Maya AI shifts a patient out of primal panic and into structured, rational action. A smartphone app works for many, but it leaves millions behind. The Prima kiosk acts as the physical front end for this system, bringing advanced pattern recognition to those without digital literacy, smartphones, or easy access to a doctor. These kiosks are designed to sit right where people live and work, in pharmacies, village centers, and markets. They intercept the initial moment of worry, and hospital trip even begins at scale. This localized network acts as a massive public health infrastructure. It identifies geographic infection clusters in real time, effectively separating those who are genuinely sick from those who are simply terrified. Treating symptoms as a cohesive human story rather than a rigid test removes unmanaged fear from the healthcare equation. It gives patients clarity at the exact moment their anxiety starts to peak. It all comes back to the man standing in the dark. The terrifying threat we thought was coiled at our feet is revealed to be nothing but a harmless rope piercing. The illusion of fear preserves vital medical infrastructure while returning to us the internal clarity and agency required to reclaim our own lives. What you have just learned is something you wouldn't have understood in 1,000 hours of reading, unless you had lived it. Dr. Maya listens to your story, empowers you to overcome fear, and helps you make informed decisions. Scan the QR code to learn more.